What is the key differences between positive testing and negative testing? The positive testing, we try to give valid inputs, where by giving valid inputs we are going to check the application behavior, whether application really behaves properly or not. But while in negative testing, we are going to provide invalid inputs or unexpected inputs, so that we wanted to see whether application behaves gracefully for those invalid inputs or unexpected inputs that we are given as part of our testing. And the second key differences is, normally positive testing, we are going to check the application or functions correctly for normal condition. But in negative testing, we are going to do abnormal conditions where appropriate error messages should gracefully provide to the end user when we execute that kind of test cases. If application is not providing appropriate error messages as part of this negative testing, then we'll have to log the defects as well. If you take an example of a login page where I will be giving username as your email address, which is a direct valid inputs. Or if I wanted to give different junk values or different things as part of that username, then definitely your application should throw error message saying that you are not given appropriate username or email address as part of your testing. And the next one is, what is defect triage? Defect triage or defect meeting, this is kind of a meeting where we are going to prioritize and manage the defects based on the severity, impact and others factors. That is, based on that we'll have set up a meeting with various stakeholders, including your product owner and your scrum master. Based on the discussion, we are going to prioritize our defects as part of this defect triage meeting. In this defect triage meeting, we are going to assess each and every defects. Each and every defect, we are going to assign the priority or severity of that for the defects, and we are going to take a call whether we wanted to fix the defects immediately or we can postpone it for later. Also, we are going to decide as part of this defect triage meeting. What is system integration testing? In this kind of testing, we are going to test the interoperability and interaction between the various different components, where once the integration is of two modules are happening, that is when the integration testing will come into picture to see when as an individual component it may work fine, but when we are going to merge together and we wanted to see still your both the modules are working together and with this integration still it works fine or not, that we are going to validate as part of this system integration testing. If you take an example, again front end and back end things are getting integrated, and if you wanted to see whether how the flow is happening from front end to back end, then that kind of validation also we can perform as part of this system integration testing. This type of testing is recovery testing. The recovery testing, again, it is going to help us to test or evaluate how the software can recover from its failures or crashes or unexpected interruptions. Certain time what happens, there may be certain problems may occur. If software cannot able to recover on its own to the previous state, then it becomes a disaster. That is when the recovery mechanism also very efficiently should work. Otherwise, we cannot say that software is very robust. Even it can happen crashes or it can happen anything, still it should be able to recover that application very effectively. That is all about recovery testing, where we are going to test the different scenario to see whether application is able to recover properly or not, even with the abnormal situations. If you take an example, intentionally causing power outages. Let's say we are operating on a computer or a mobile device, suddenly power goes off. Now what should happen? How the application should behave? All those things we'll have to test as part of this recovery testing. What is all about test estimation? Test estimation, again, it is a process of predicting the overall efforts, resources required for testing it, and time required to complete the overall testing activity, that enter these three parameters of different triangle in nature that we are going to evaluate using this test estimation mechanism. Because If we do the right estimation, we can easily say how much effort is required, how many resources are required, or how much time is required to complete that testing activity. Otherwise, without proper estimation, definitely we cannot give the estimation to any stakeholders. Next type of testing is block box testing. The block box testing again is a testing technique where we are not much worried about the internal structure or what is inside the code of that software which they are being implemented by the developer, where tester doesn't have any clue of what is inside the code. They will only know outside, I'm going to give this input, I am going to expect this output. That is all about block box testing, where we are not much worried about what is inside. Testers are morely focusing on testing the external behavior and functionality based on the input and as well as expected output. What is all about risk-based testing? The risk-based testing, again, it is a critical testing technique or approach where we are going to prioritize our test cases or prioritize our testing efforts based on the risk associated for each of those testing activity. We are going to do a risk analysis for every activity in the testing plan, and based on that we are going to rate the risk, so that if it is higher risk is there, we should put a detailed mitigation plan as well as part of that overall risk testing. If we take an example, the focusing on critical functionality, high critical areas is a key for to succeed in risk-based testing. And the next question is, what is test reporting and metrics? The test reporting is again, it's a documentation where I'm going to communicate a email or test result to the various stakeholders that is going to tell them that these many test cases we have completely executed, these are the issues we have, these are the problems we have, everything we are going to document it as part of your test reporting mechanism, and we are going to send to the various stakeholders also in a proper way via email or any other form to various stakeholders, and stakeholders will review those reports, and based on that they will take a next course of action as part of this test reporting. And also we are going to publish various testing metrics as well to measure what is our progress, what kind of issues we are really facing, what kind of challenges we have. Everything we can, by going through the test metrics, we can easily assess what is the situation of that testing project. That is when the test reporting plus metrics is going to help us to tell to the stakeholder that what is really the situation of the testing project.